Hey guys, Ray from Lovey RV and Boat. Interesting new gadget to show you today from Bluetti. This is a DC to DC charger called the Charger 1, and what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to charge your Bluetti power stations at a much faster rate from your vehicle. Now traditionally they have included a cord like this that would plug in, and you would plug it into kind of a 12 volt socket. Old school guys call it a cigarette lighter socket, and you'd plug that in and you would charge up your power station. But it was very slow because the max output of most of those sockets is around 10 amps. So you were lucky to get about 100 watts of charging going on. So what they've now got out is this new device that you wire into your vehicle's battery, and you can use the power of the alternator while the engine's running to charge at a much higher rate, up to I think around 500 and something watts. There's different wattage variations depending on the power station you have. It's compatible with almost all their power stations. Today I'm going to be testing it out with my little AC70. So fair disclaimer, Bluetti sent this to me as a free sample, but I'm not getting paid for this or anything, and the opinions remain my own. They also sent out, I think this is part of the kit. I think you can buy this standalone, or you can buy it in the kit, and it gives you all the wiring you need. This will hook up to my battery of my truck, and then they also included a breaker switch. Looks like it's 63 amps. So I guess the max output of this is about 50 amps, I think, off your alternator. I'll do some measurements when I hook mine up. I'm going to hook it up to my 2018 Ram 3500 truck. And then on the output end, this will connect to the DC input, kind of what usually people would use for solar panels, and on most of them it plugs into a DC or solar panel input. On this one it's right here. So what that's going to do is take your 12 volt input from your truck or car battery and alternator system. It's going to translate the voltage into actually a higher voltage, I think up to maybe 50 volts or something. So there'll be more current in and less current coming out, and then effectively charge your power station. Sort of see the diagram here. It'll hook to your battery in the vehicle, and I guess they want maybe you to put it in your trunk or something. It's not really that waterproof. It may have a little bit of water resistance, but you can see it's basically open on the sides there. Just to get some airflow through, because there's a little fan. And they also want you to mount it with at least around 5 inches of space all around. I think 20 centimeters is what it says, to have space around it, because it needs airflow to cool. And they also include a little pack of different hookup doodads and screws for mounting. Basically today I'm just going to hook it up and kind of demo it. I'm not going to wire it into my truck, but I'll hook up and we'll see the performance of it. And also there's an app to install to control, because there's really no buttons on this at all. Very basic, so everything's run through the app as far as the setup and stuff, and then it kind of powers on and off by itself. When you turn your vehicle off, it automatically is supposed to power down. And of course you have this main switch you can turn on and off as well. So the wiring they have in the kit looks like 6 gauge. It's very nice, very supple, very bendable. And you can see the ends are nicely addressed like this. They're squared off. So they fit in there, and then there's an Allen wrench that you do up with a screw to tighten it up. And it's on both ends. The input's a little bigger. Output uses a smaller because it's going to have less current coming out of it. Okay, so got it hooked up. Just have to make sure you got your plus and minus right, polarity right, red to plus, black to negative there. Same on the other side. And then I've hooked up my MC4 connectors to the cable that comes with the power station for the DC input on the power station. Now we just have to hook up the batteries. One nice touch that the cable has is this nice sheath that's in there to keep it together. Makes it easier for running through your vehicle. Like I said, I'm not going to run it through mine. I'll try to get the spec for how long this is. It looks like it's probably somewhere around 15 feet or so. It doesn't quite reach the back of my truck to the tailgate, so I'm kind of doing it halfway there. This truck's really long. I think it's 21 feet. So I'm going to hook it up to my battery here. You can see I do have a post here because I do have a DC charger installed. So I'm going to hook up to the negative post here, negative wire, and then the positive post here. I also have a 60 amp fuse that I installed, a terminal fuse, just because I don't like to have any wiring that's unfused. That's one thing I noticed they don't really mention in their instruction book much. They just show you this. But one thing I noticed that it came with, the breaker is very far away from this end. I'd rather have the breaker at this end, but I'd advise putting maybe a terminal fuse in as well, just for protection of the wire, because anywhere along here, if you have it in your vehicle and it gets pinched anywhere, then you have no protection from your batteries, and they can put out a lot of current and overheat the wire. You can see their breaker is way back here by the unit, just fine for turning it on and off. Or if any short circuit happens here, this will protect the unit and the wiring, but there's no protection all the way to the battery. So just a little note there you might want to have. If you know wiring, you'll know to do that. If not, the professional that's installing it for you should include another protection device right at the battery. There we go. So we got it hooked to my battery, positive to positive, negative to negative. And then this would be like if you've wound it through your firewall and somewhere out to the back of your trunk. And then this would be mounted somewhere. Got the input there, output going into my power station. So I haven't turned on the breaker yet. They say to start the vehicle and then let it run for about 30 seconds and then flip this on. Then we should get a flashing light here. And then once it goes solid, we should see some charging happening here. So I'm going to turn the vehicle on. Okay, flick it on. So it looks like we have green light there, kind of flashing. Okay, so what do we got here? It's saying 222 watts. Same here, 27 volts output, 133 watts on the app. Charging voltage. Disconnect device before adjusting the charging voltage. Okay, so I should be able to up that voltage, because this thing can take up to 58 volts input, so we should be able to get that charging wattage up by just adjusting. This is the default that it comes with. Let's turn the vehicle off. I want to see how long it takes for it to stop removing power from my battery with the truck off. It's supposed to automatically sense that oh, there we go. So it automatically just turned itself off as far as drawing power from the battery, which is important because you could drain your battery if it doesn't do that. So the app has a model selection so that you don't mess up. So yeah, 56 volts, select model. Automatically sets the appropriate voltage based on the selected model. Next. Disconnect the device before adjusting. Set it to within specific range to avoid damage. Okay, successfully adjusted the voltage for AC70. That's my box here. Wait 90 seconds before connecting to power station to avoid damage. Okay, there we go. 500 and something watts. Oh, it's dropping back down again. Interesting. I saw 500 briefly. Charging voltage 56. Must be some setting in this. Oh, probably because I'm so high here. Let me take some power out of this box, because a lot of times when it's up near its higher percentage, it doesn't like to have full charge. Oh, there it is, 499. Okay, maybe it was just testing things. Yeah. Oh, back down again. So it's kind of cycling right now from a lower point to a higher point. But like I say, I'm going to take some power out of this box and retest this, because a lot of times near the top end of the charge, it does that to protect the lithium cells inside. Let's run a cycle through the Instapot, cook some pasta for later here. It's going to draw 700 watts, so that should knock her down. Okay, I guess that was what was going on. Now I'm getting a pretty solid 499 into there. Just check what the charger is showing. There's a little bit of losses. Let's see what the charger output is. 507, 515, 512. So, seems to be working. Let's check the amperage draw. About 42 amps it's drawing right now off my alternator. Well, it seems to work quite nicely. Let's give you the specs here. DC input 13.8 volt or 27.6 volt, 50 amp max, so you can use it on a 24 volt system. DC output 15 volt to 65 volt, 10 amp max. So, you know, a person could probably use this in different situations other than charging up Bluetti power stations, but that's really what it's meant to do. They do a really good job on their cabling. I'll give them top marks for that. It's really nice, very supple cables, nice soft coating. Everything's labeled. The ends are really dressed really nice. Good ends there. Same with this. Everything's really nice. Looks like a pretty decent little breaker there. Manual's pretty good. App works pretty good. Their stuff has come a long way. Really good quality stuff. The last few power stations I've reviewed, the waterproof one and that little AC70 have worked great. I think what I'm going to do with this is, because as far as my RV goes, I got a couple DC to DC chargers and stuff, and I really don't need any this, but in my boat it'll be interesting because I use the Bluetti, I think it's the AC240, the waterproof one. Anyway, it sits up on my fly bridge, and it might be nice to be able to have the option of using this with the boat's alternator to charge it while we're underway. So stay tuned for that in the spring. Couple drawbacks I see is the way they wired this. I mentioned that, where you don't have any protection at this end. So if you're DIYing it, I definitely advise putting a fuse at this end, or maybe you could move this closer, but it'd be nice just to put a terminal fuse or something. Probably with a max 50. I have a 60 amp and it seemed to work quite well. The other thing about it, they don't really mention much in the manual, is it does draw up to 50 amps max, and it was drawing 42 or so off my my alternator battery combination. So on some rigs, I guess they can't guess of all the different vehicles out there. Like I have a 220 amp alternator. I kind of oversized it. My truck doesn't have much electronics and stuff, so it easily powers this without any problems to the alternator. But there's some, you know, alternators that are a lot smaller, especially in smaller vans and vehicles, where running this may cause a problem with the alternator to overheat. You could even have problems with your alternator And so you'd want to really check that. If you don't know much about it, have a mechanic or something kind of look at your system and see if you can actually hook on that much extra amperage. Because if you're charging some of those power stations that are very large, it may take many hours to charge them up, and that would be kind of pulling on your alternator. A lot of the alternators are sort of smart, and they'll figure out it's overheating and deregulate what it's outputting, but you never know, so it's well worth checking that out. Especially at idle. If you're idling a lot in traffic, the alternators, some of them will spin really fast. They have a high output alternators that have smaller kind of gear ratios and spin very fast even at idle. But if it doesn't, you're idling away in hot traffic with a hot engine bay, it can cause issues with your alternator. Sort of like on my boat, I have a very old alternator, so you know I got to watch what I'm doing there, because it's not really that smart of an alternator, and it's only a 65 amp, I think, max output on it, so you have to watch it there. Anyway, just wanted to let you know. So there you go, not a bad little unit. Any questions or comments, leave them below. Till next time, Ray from Love Your RV and Boat. Cheers, guys.